Hey, what's up everybody, it's KyFy. I'm glad to be back. You know, it's been a good one and a rough one at the same time, but you know, God gets you through. And at the same time, we're saying that the devil lost again. I like saying that every time I start a reading because you gotta know that he's losing, right? So basically, we're gonna get into it. This is gonna be a good reading, and it's about knowing versus belief, and also faith versus fear. But I figured out it was an axis. So if you could look with me, this is the Zin-Finity Board. Basically, if you've been following me, if you've seen the reading before, you have a good understanding of what goes on here. But to save time, you could look at the other readings from before, and we're gonna move on from there. But what is this all about? So the Zin-Finity Board is an elementally energetic grid, and it is exposed with these cards that you see here. I'll move it to the side so you can see it clearly. Okay. So there are 14 locations on the Zin-Finity Board, and it's explained by what you see here. I know you counting 13 right now, but the 14th is in a different location, but it's double, and I'm gonna explain that later. Basically, you have the soul, you have the spirit, right? This location, you have the mind and the body. These are things that you're more familiar with, right? Also, you have in this square right here, ether. At the same time, you have the tree of life and the Etheral that's on it, right? Starting from the crown, right? You have the crown, you have Hokmah, Bina, Da'at, I count it all the time, right? Then it is Chesed, Geburah, Tiferet, Hod, Netzach, or Netzach, Hod, whichever way. Then it's Yasad, and then it's Malkut, right? So using those two pieces on this board right here, which is mainly the Philosopher's Stone, I combined the two, and it's now called the Zin-Finity Board. So with that said and done, we're gonna move on. So this axis that I created, it's kind of like last second, last minute, but you know, everything comes last minute with me for some reason. You know, I work with what you gotta work with what you got. But if you can draw a plus sign on a piece of paper and put at the top knowledge, at the bottom belief, on the left you have fear, and on the right you have faith, and in the middle you can understand that as peace or unity. So we all know knowledge is power, right? But knowledge is opposite of belief. What makes that opposite? If you don't know, you believe. Because your energy, your spirit is telling you that this is a certainty, right? If you don't know, you believe. If you know, you know. Then you don't have to really stress or strain or waste energy on the topic or anything. If you know, you know. But belief requires a certain amount of faith, right? Faith has to do with your will. So when you look at this side, Chesed, it has to do with the will. On Geburah, which is more on the fear side, it has to do with desires. Things that you think that you need in order to survive. And that translates to many different scenarios, but you can understand where I'm going with this. So using that axis, we're going to draw some cards real quick. Starting off with the area cards. So on the tree of life, you have Ein, Soph, and Or, right? So Soph is the circle that you see here, the big circle involving the mind, body, soul, and spirit, right? Ein has to do with the last 10 parts, right? And that is involving the the Etheral and the tree of life. So Or has to do with what I call the star stream. Or specifically is when these cards come down, they will be elementally correct or incorrect, and that will give me a sign as a reader to understand what's going on, what I need to talk about, and the energies that are at play at the moment. So using these two factors, you have the environment and what's going on every perspective that you can imagine. So this is the beauty of it, right? So with that being said, let's start off with the first part of the reading. We're going to do Soph, right? I've shuffled the cards many times. I don't cheat. So give me a chance to get it down, and it's going to happen right about now. I never know if I get that right, but you know how we do. So what happened? Basically, there was a lot of judgment. The courage involved was necessary in order for you to move forward. But you didn't know you had the courage because it took time to transform into the person that you needed to be in order to be courageous. Because, you know, everything that we go through is a part of training, experiences, and if you learn from these experiences, then you're good. You know, you become new. You become a new person. You transform. You ascend. But if you decide not to deal with these experiences and just hold on to it, let me just keep it over there, let me not talk about it, let me just not deal with it, it becomes baggage. And this is that mysterious baggage word that comes around with everybody. Oh, what kind of baggage she got? It's unlearned lessons. It's nothing to be scared of, because most of the time you can have the answer for it. But if you do have the answer for that certain kind of baggage, I know I'm getting right into it, right? But if you have that answer for that certain kind of baggage, how you communicate it is very key. Because imagine somebody had all the answers, but you didn't like them so much, because that's really what happens. The person that you really don't like at the time has the answers. Usually the truth comes in a form of pressure, right? Pressure to do something, because now you know. Because you believed it before, but through fear you operated in a different way. Now, since you know, you can have the faith, that little mustard seed they talk about all the time, right? That mustard seed started to grow now into the actual stalk, the plant. So with a little faith, you will things into existence. So now that things are manifested because of this newfound courage, what are we going to find out? So this is what this reading is going to be about. And I have a few messages, right? First up is the observer. I'm going to explain all of this right now in a second, but let me get it down. First is the observer, right? Next up is faith and belief. We talked about that a little bit. Next up is vulnerability, dark worker, avoidance, and mental defrag. So I dealt with computers a little bit growing up. You know, I had to figure out how to use it because they kept breaking down. So if you want to play games, you gotta play it on a good computer, right? So I learned a few things, but defragging was important because you can be going through so much. So your computer has so many files, right? But you still have the space. You have enough space, but it's so scattered. It's like it's dusty. So all of these lessons are in different places in your life. What happens if you decide to defrag? To talk about it, to figure out a way around it, not around it, through it. Because that gives you access to a form that you can use. And what does that mean by form? Form has to do with, like, basically the processes and the things that you do, like your functionality, right? It has to do with that. And when you will it into existence, basically these forms that you think of, I hope this is making sense, but these forms that you think of can actually be stable formations that you can build upon. And this is where that tower comes into play, right? Even though the tower is not here right now, it's probably going to come out. But you use these forms to create that tower. And when you have tower moments, something that you're doing is changing for the better because it's going to be a more sturdy foundation. So you can understand what that means. If you just had a reading about a tower moment, or if you feel like you're going through a tower moment, that's what's happening. It's restructuring. It's reformation. You have the space and ability to do things. I can't even go into the cards right now because it's flowing, right? But back to the first part of the reading, which is Sophia, right? Let's start off with the world of emanation. So this is basically the world of fire, right? The world where your imagination comes from. So this has to do with transformation. So in the world of your imagination, or what you deem to happen, your dreams and things like that, right? Your fantasies, right? In that world, you're going through a certain kind of transformation. And what does that mean? Different perspectives allow you to move differently. And that's my motto. When you see it differently, or when you finally notice it for what it is, you move differently because there's no more questioning. Now you know. There's no more belief. Now you know, because at this area is the place, this is the place of I know, but this is the throat chakra, right? The throat chakra comes in 3 pieces. I'm going to talk about it later. But this is the center of vibration. But also, one of my favorite analogies, the castle, the kingdom, and the flag. So, divine feminine energy is the castle, divine masculine energy is the kingdom, and the flag is basically when the king and queen come together, they have their ambitions and things like that, and they have that master plan. That's that flag. But when you have an imbalance between relationship between these two characters, between these two ideals, right? Then there's static and bumping of the heads and things like that. But there was a reason that the flag went up in the first place. So think about that reason. Maybe you need to take the flag down and recolor it because that wasn't that wasn't where you needed to go. Maybe maybe you have a new method, a new direction. But that's with a person. When it comes up to things that are in your life for your best, your manifestation, how you grow, how you transform, how you ascend, this is where you collect, because that's your own castle, where you call home base. And it's usually in the spirit, in the mind, and things like that. It's on that axis. So that has to do with the faith and the fear, right? So if your castle, right? If your castle is at fear, everybody needs more. They're eating more. You can understand the analogy, and it can go on forever because that's a lifestyle, right? The kingdom, you can really understand. This is your access to everything that's wealthy. So you can understand having a good king at your disposal. He can go get those things for you. And you being the queen can manifest those things. So let's just say he brings in the bulk deposit for iron and things like that. You take it back to your facilities, your mind. The mind is beautiful, right? And the energy that comes behind it, the emotional connection to what you know, right? That brings forth a manifestation that in turn helps the king do more in his kingdom, in turn bringing more back to the castle. So you can see the circulation in it. But as I said before, it's not just people. It's within your own self, within the matrix of your own life. So let's get started. Just keep going. That was just transformation. Next up is the world of creation, which is courage. So let's get transformation really quick. I didn't even read it. The butterfly goes through many stages before it becomes beautiful. The creature, the beautiful creature it is. Honor your process and allow your beauty to be seen by all. Wear more color to help announce the arrival of your exquisite transformation. I just said, of course. Meditate on this when you want to call in more beauty, grace, and acceptance during times of transition. Right? Transition is going through, and it usually has to do with portals between worlds, between perspectives, between places that you can actually operate and where you are, and probably the reason you come to readings in the first place, because you cannot operate freely, right? So I talked about that part. So let's move on to courage. Courage is in the spirit. We talked about it a little bit. You are being invited to summon your courage and take the next right action. Drawing this card can be nudging you to let go of any fears you are having and boldly move ahead. This is your moment to seize the day, live your dreams, and step forward with confidence. You can meditate on this symbol. Oh, I didn't even pick it up. But you can meditate on this symbol and mantra whenever you need a boost of encouragement, right? So this is in the spirit, and spiritual encouragement allows that energy to flow, or at least release. So Kamehame, and you just sitting there, ain't no high, right? You there's nothing. Imagine that. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, you know how pissed I was growing up? And shout outs to, I don't even remember his name, but his imagination just helped us, right? Shout outs to him. But just imagine that, Kamehameha, and you just sitting there and you just waiting for the next part, waiting for your power to release, waiting for that enemy to just get away from you, because waiting for that transformation, that event, that thing, waiting for it. And the thing is, it's up to you to do it. So you have to open that door and release that energy. Now the doors are also portals, so understand it. So next up, we have guides in the world of Yetzirah, which is the world of formation, right? And this is the mind. Your spirit guides and ancestors are calling you to you now. They surround you with their love and protection and also offer you their wisdom. Allow these helping spirits into your world today. You are not alone. Meditate on this when you need assistance from your spiritual team. Now, this is spiritual team and spiritual courage in what you form. So basically, this is involving that fool energy. And the opposite of the fool is the magician. So this is the heart coming to play right now. So the magician is on the heart, and this is the air card, and that's in line. We're going to talk about, well, it's on suit, so that means that if it was off suit, it would be a wrong energy, but it is. So this is magic happening all around you to benefit you. But that's not besides the point, but that's what's happening, and let's keep going, right? So I think that's why I needed to say that. I veered off for a reason. So let's continue. Next up, in the world of manifestation, Asiyah, we have the body. And this is governed by the shadow. So let's get it. To be honest, this is the card I get the most. It's crazy. So we doing a lot of shadow work. And another thing that I talk about is I coined it a little bit. Well, not a little bit. I haven't heard it, so I coined it. But it's called shadow stabbing. So basically, they say we're not fighting people alone, but principalities and spiritual something and governors and governs, something like that. I don't remember it completely, but this is that shadow that each one of us has that's fighting against us at the same time. So although we have control, we all lose control, and that's when the shadow comes out and stabs you, but the stab sometimes you don't see. So I don't know why I needed to say that, but let's move on. What is hiding in the dark? What is that? What is it that you're afraid of or don't want to see? This card comes to tell you that all cannot be in the light because there must be a balance. Exploring the beast requires you to confront those unhealed parts of yourself, those aspects you deem unworthy or unlovable. The time is now to bring the light into those usually concealed spaces so that they may be healed appropriately and or banished forever. The shadow or the hidden beast is not evil, just misunderstood. However, tread carefully as you dive into sensitive territory. So think of your shadow as inside your body, and everything that you go through gets locked inside of your body. Your body is a storage system. DNA holds how much memory? I forgot how many I don't even know. I forgot. But it's a very, very big number, and you can put anything onto it. And you can actually code our computerized information into DNA. So think about it. Everything that you went through is logged into your body. And every 7 years, your body renews itself, I think. Because 7 years for the brain, I forgot. But what's in your DNA just kind of rejuvenates. So the things that goes into your epigenetic memory, the memory of everything that came before you, even in your family's history, is also baggage that you might not even see. But I'm a person who believes in reincarnation, so we came here knowing this already, knowing that we will fight these battles. So what is it about this moment that makes it so important for you to understand that your shadow done been through it? Your shadow is basically a collective of that memory, the memory of that epigenetic history. I'm gonna just say it like that. It's the memory of it. So the more you understand it, the more you can use. So imagine, how in Mulan, right? When she went into that temple and all those guardians and stuff like that started to talk to her or whatever, or when she left they started to talk. I forgot why I mentioned that, but you know why I said it. So that is Soph. So we understand basically the who, what, when, where, and why of the situation. But we're going to dive into why, understanding these last 10 perspectives. And this is Ein. So let's get it started. So first up, we go from 0, starting at da'at, because it wasn't there. That made it known to me as 0, right? To 10, which is the temple, which also doesn't have it doesn't have a zodiac, so they made it special in the first place. It's the temple, it's the world, the kingdom is involved with those things. So we go from 0 to 10 back to 0, and I'll explain what it means by going back to 0 with what's the next after this. It's called, well, the next part after this is called Or, which is the aura, right? So the aura is when cards are misaligned, we have to draw cards over it, because this is a game too, a game that reveals what we need to reveal. It helps me out at the same time. It just makes it a lot more interactive. When it's off suit, I draw cards over it to help it to be on suit, and the more cards I do, the more energetic weight is on that situation, on that perspective, and that might be something that's holding you back. So it's very accurate to every perspective that you can possibly have. And like I said, this is another beauty. The reason why I'm creating this board is because I want this to be an app. I like giving back, and also at the same time, the way I see it is so interactive to the point where you can start understanding your actual self, to see it in the mirror and be able to speak to it almost. It's like, wow, this is so much spiritual communication. So that's why I'm trying to create the app. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, I'm doing this to create it so it can come back to you. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you know a reader that would benefit from this, shout them out. We could talk. Let's continue. Ein, starting off with 0. Da'at, we have the 5 of Swords, and this is the area of the throat chakra, right? But this is also the question that you need to ask, the question that you can ask if you have a focus on why you came to the reading, right? The question that you ask is, what do I know? I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, and don't put no energy on it yet. Just put it there, because you need to go down through the cycle and then bring the energy back up for a reason, right? So this is governed by the 5 of Swords. Let's see what it says. And this is on suit. Why? Because this is fire and this is air, which means that this one could be fire or air. So when you understand it, it's mad cool. I ain't gonna hold you. But yeah, so let's get it. The 5 of Swords, unbridled ambition, winning at all costs, and sneakiness. And this is when it's upright. So what you know is that there's some kind of fox around you, some kind of thing that's after you, or at least, no, this is what you know. It's not a belief. These are things that you have actually seen and experienced. So these are things that you can think of it right now. I know you're just going, it's just going, right? Just hold on, right? So you got that fox in the bush somewhere just waiting, or that wolf in the forest just looking at your sheep, looking at everything that you built, looking at your stock, and waiting to just go marinate on it. I don't know why I said marinate, but yeah. But you got that kind of energy, and you know that that's around you. So moving out of that, moving from that energy, who are you? Now this is going to be the place of I be, right? I learned that this area can be fire or water, and this is earth, so that means it's off suit. The reason why, well, I got into the reason before, but I'm gonna keep going. So every off-suit card, I turn to the side so I know that this is a blockage. So it went from what you know to who you are, your being, right? So your being is at play because you have to operate differently because of these circumstances, because of these experiences. So you see how this is starting to communicate. Now we can bring it down to who you are. Now let's talk about you. Your being is the Ace of Pentacles, and what does that say? Your being is all about opportunity, prosperity, and new adventure. Now, why is that off? Opportunities, prosperity, and new adventure Your soul wants these things to happen. But the thing is, Earth is something physical. So there's something physical that you obviously either produce yourself that you think you need. So it's something that you're working on really hard, but the other thing is so easy, and that's where the blessing is, right? So even though you have a blessing and it's for you, you got to use it in a different way. Because, opposite of every flaw is a gift. Because you're tuned to one way in a perspective. Looking at it in the mirror, you can see where your faults are, but you're faulted that way because you automatically do something as a response, and not even as a response, as a reaction, because that's your energy. You don't know how to control it, right? So as you grow, you learn, you transform, you learn how to fly. This transformation right here, fly. I don't know why fly came out, but yeah, maybe it's the flyer on you right now that's annoying you. And that's that fox. It's something that is really, sometimes you cannot kill flies. They just gonna be there. I promise you, no matter what fly swatter, they just gonna be there. And some of them, I don't know, you might as well just name them. And that's that energy that's here right now. It's like something that you can't get rid of, that annoys you all the time. It's after your shit. It's after all your shit. You can't even shit in peace. And the crazy thing is, that can turn into fertilizer. So when you think about it, nothing is trash, right? So understand the analogy as it goes. Moving on from there, you have Hokmah, which is basically the light side of the third eye energy, right? So this is governed by the Knight of Cups, and this is off suit. Why? Because water and air belongs on this side. Earth and fire belongs on this side. So when it's like this, you can understand this emotional blockage in your path, right? This is the path card, and it's also the question that you need to ask yourself right now, because this is your being. This is who you are. Because of what you have to go through, the persona that you need to mask yourself with in order to get through the situation, right? Or at least that piece that you're trying to unmask because you want to be free. The Knight of Cups has to do with what you want. And I just understood why I couldn't even figure out why I couldn't say that. Imagine you have what you wanted to do and it's blocked by somebody who don't want it to happen. So somebody sees what you're capable of, and it has nothing to do with them. But when you do it, the source that they use to live or to feed off of won't be there anymore, because sometimes you have things called parasites. They just find the perfect place to be to eat off of you, and you'll never know, right? So it's not just about flies, it's about parasites. Parasites are everywhere. Deworm yourself. Go look it up, right? So let's look at the Knight of Cups really quickly. So this is about following your heart, idealistic, and being romantic. Now, what does that have to do with your path? Idealism is not being practical, right? So the idealism is in the dream. But the fantasy, you have to be practical in order to achieve it. But the fantasy can match the dream. And the fantasy can be swayed by your fears. So you can understand it's hard to match what you truly want because of the fears that are blocking it. And fears is governed by the lessons. Let's back up. Fears are governed by the lessons that you decided not to learn. But is at a point, did you even know you needed to learn it? Sometimes you need to go through a certain amount of time. What are you here for? You need to go through a certain amount of time, through a certain amount of events. I'm going to just leave it like that. You know what I'm talking about. And only then, like the karma, I'm gonna just say the karma is released from the situation, you can end that cycle and have that gift truly manifested. So if you sent yourself down here to do something, you might as well go through the school, the training first. So we choose where we want to learn. It's crazy. But that came up again. So yeah, moving forward, we have the Lovers, and this is the air card, and this is on suit. So let's get that really quickly. This is a side of I need. So although this is what you want, right, and you have to will that into existence, this is the path to get there, right? What you need is what's required in order to even go in that direction. So you understand the balance, right? If you don't have what you need, you can't get what you go. If you don't got the juice, if you don't got the gas, you can't use the car to get to the other state. It's just like something simple, but you understand what I mean, right? So the gas in this instance is the Lovers. So I don't know why somebody's gassed up. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Gassed up to do something. You could be gassed up. And this is on suit, so you gassed up. Somebody inspired you. Or something inspired you. What was it? So you need inspiration. Let's look at the Lovers. So partnership, union, and duality. So when you see partnership, union, right? Everybody thinks about people. And that's what we're most focused on because we all want love. What is love? I don't want you to ever think about love the same way again after hearing this, because balance brings love. Love is a movement, right? And you know how they say time is money, right? But love is the root. I said love is the root, but money is the root of all evil. But so is the love of money, right? It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. That's what I said. So those things are intertwined in a trinity of its own. I don't know why I had to say that. So love, money, and time. Time is money, and we love money. Well, we also love our time, right? We love the time that we're here for, or we love the time that we came here for, but are we doing the things that we wanted to do? Imagine you started to play a game, right? Because I'm going to just use this analogy to understand, to get you to understand how all the knowledge says we are here and why we are here, right? So imagine you was playing the game Sims, and your sim is not listening to you, so you don't get the chance to do anything that you bought the game for. And that's our connection with our spirit. Our spirit wants to tell us what to do. Our conscious doesn't know how to do it because it's blocked by fears and all these other things that we constantly keep on us instead of going through, instead of transmuting the energy, right? That's with the Lovers. Next up is the Hermit card. The Hermit card is on the area of will. So let's see. The Hermit is from Chesed to Tiferet. So here's that connection between the magical things that are happening around you, and it's happening because you're deciding to rely on yourself. The abundance that flows out of you is now for everybody, but you always stay at 100%, right? So let's get the Hermit card. So the Hermit card is an earth card, and this is on suit, right? And it means contemplation, searching for truth, and inner guidance. So yeah, relying on yourself and using your own will, but allowing it to benefit you at the very least first. So you get your things that you need to do done first, right? So you are top priority. But it's not just you, it's what your spirit is telling you is top priority. Your instincts, your intuition is now top priority. And that's a trust that spirit loves. So when you gain that trust with your spirit puts you on a whole bunch of other things. Next thing you know, so many coincidences, now you got the thing that you needed in order to move. You didn't even know what it was, but it was so obvious, and it was almost like it was right there the whole time. I should have just did this. And it's embarrassing. That's how close it is. What you need it's like embarrassing. It's like embarrassing. Turn around. Imagine you playing this game up there. Turn around. It's right there. Turn around. Just upset. Right? The controls are off. You can't use it right. It's all fear. Next up is the strength card, and this is fire, and this is offsuit. So even though this is the good card to have, why is your strength a problem? But I noticed one thing. Strength holds manifestation. But strength, if you're blocking it with what you think you need to do, can also block your manifestation. So your gifts can also deter you as well as help you. Your flaws can also help you as well as deter you, right? I said that backwards both times, but yeah. Alright, so the strength card: bravery, compassion, focus, and inner strength. So this is like not getting ahead of yourself, because balance requires you to meet in the middle with your spirit and your consciousness, right? So when your strength is taken over, the ego is out of control, what you think you need to do, and is not going to bring you to where you want it to go. So I'm gonna just leave it like that. So that's the strength card. This was I will, right? Of course, it's natural. I will, right? The question was I will. What can you will? What do you do right now? What are you forced to do right now with your time? Because time is also space. Let me tell you why. Because on your day off, you have the time to go to another state and come back. So that's the space you could have been during that time. But when you work during the week, you can't necessarily do that. So everything in that span of space, you don't have access to. So using the same analogy, if you are forced to do things with your time, jobs, obligations to people, and obligations to yourself, you have self-management, right? How can you manage your time so you get your space? The kingdom is in your space. So if you are able, see, this is when it starts tying together. If you are able to reach farther with your time, if you're able to conquer your time more, you have everything you need, because next thing you know, something so far away is just in reach. And that's how it works. So I hope you understood that. But moving on, we have, I think it's the card of the reading, but it's going to be the Magician card. In the place, let me back up. This is Gabura, which is I desire. And your desire is off because you're trying to force it. Let spirit handle the force necessary, and you handle the works that need to be done. Because if you decide to do the work, the force necessary will always be there. So you understand that relationship? The decision to deciding to do it, spirit can't move your body, right? The controls, even though I'm telling you what to do, this is the spirit, right? I'm telling you what to do, but I can't do it unless you agree, right? That's why they say faith without works is dead. You got all that energy and you're not putting it into anything. Yeah. Let's get the Magician really quickly. The Magician is willpower, creation, mastery, and adaptation. So it's bringing up transmutation and alchemy right now. So anything that you're going through, you have the ability, or at least the coincidences are happening around you that are leaving you with so many opportunities that the enemies can't keep up. They're nervous because they don't want you to do this move, but you can do another move too that also affects what they can leech off, right? So that's all the enemy is here to do, leech off of your time. They want that time. Time is an energy, and if they claim it, it's like they beat God. Man, imagine that. we spend a lot of time stressing. That means that the enemy is winning because you're not doing the things that the spirit knows you can do, right? Yeah. So this is on suit, and this question right here is I love, of course. I love. So, what do you love? You know what you desire. Desire is not love. Desire is not love. Desire is a focus from the consciousness in general. You are consciously focused on something that you want, which becomes a desire. And desire doesn't have to be just one thing. It can be an event too. So understand what exactly it is that you are desiring. Piece it out, define it. Because until you define it, you won't know where to go. Or at least where to start. But yeah, moving on, we have the Two of Pentacles in the solar plexus, holding that sack, right? And this is off suit. So this is an area of fire. Getting things going, getting the rhythm going, the patterns that you hold. Now you're juggling. Should I do this? Should I do that? I have this, I have that. So I don't need to do it. I have this, I know to use this, so I don't need to make something else. I don't need to do something else. I can just use this here. You see how much force that is? But what if it's something that you're not used to? What if it's something that you have no idea about and you need it to be in a certain place, but you're so stubborn because you think that this is the method? It runs full circle. So let's see what the Two of Pentacles is. It's saying, so balancing decisions, priorities, adapting to change. Now, for some reason, the whole energy flipped, but maybe this is a different message because sometimes the flame is burning too hot. Sometimes you're doing too much. And instead of doing too many things, you can use your manifestations instead. So it's like the things that you have around you have the ability to help you out. The people that are around you can help you, but they won't know that they can help you unless you speak, unless you use your throat chakra, unless you speak it into existence. You know, you have a magic, and until you ask, are you going to receive it? So be open to receiving that blessing. And sometimes the right people will be around you and will ask you specifically, like, what's going on? And that's your chance. Don't be shy. So this is in this area, but let's move on. Well, this is the area of I do or I act. What are the things that you are doing currently that you feel like you can't change, that are either, or that's stopping you from getting where you want to go, literally, because that's where the focus is. Yeah, that's the kind of question you ask yourself right now. But moving on to the next question, which is I feel, we have the Ten of Wands, and it's off suit because this is fire in the area of water. So your actions are trying to perform your emotions. So let's just say, if you work out to relieve stress, that's okay, right? But let's just say one day you go into the gym and you go so hard that you're unable to move the next 3 days. So you're hurting yourself by doing too much in order to get away from the feeling in general. But understand that these emotions are two things. And it's something, oh wow, I don't know why it just keeps coming out. So look, I created something, and you can split an emotion into two things. A trigger into two things. Data and energy, right? So if you have an emotion about something in your past, something that you believe in the future, something that you know, right? An event can happen. And this sparked something that happened in your past that said, you know what, I don't want to go through this again. Now you have a choice to respond to this, but usually people react to it, and that's why it's so triggering. Triggers are hard. You know, sometimes we're trigger happy. You know what that means, right? I shoot you by mistake. Friendly fire. I didn't mean that. We on the same team. I know that. I know we on the same team. But that's friendly fire. You said something. You shouted out. I ain't understand it. It's something, I didn't know who you was. You had to shine the light on him. Oh, that's you. Oh, my bad. Because you made me feel like something I know or something I've been through would happen again. Or, this can go into many different situations and scenarios. But you understand. Yeah. So, the 10 of Wands, let's see what it says. So, accomplishment, responsibility, and burden. Right. Unable to be emotional at the time that you need to sit down and just deal with the emotions, right? Imagine sleep was the thing that you needed, and you're working so much that your body can't keep up. You need sleep. So sleep is emotions in this example. Imagine if you needed a certain kind of emotional response, and it's almost like the lack of sleep, and you're deprived of it. Deprived of an emotional response is also triggering, because the lack of something could be scary too. This is why people are addicted to likes. You keep going to that energy. Oh, I want to eat this. Oh, I want to feel good. 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 Next thing you know, it don't get that same effect. They gotta find something else. These are gateway drugs. They're all around. It's nothing but drugs in front of our face. You just don't see that it's a drug. What are anything that you are addicted to can be a drug. Anything that you can be addicted to can be a drug. Don't matter. So last but not least in this round of Ayin, we have the 2 of Cups, and it's also off suit, and this is the area of I am. So this is the place of specific fear. If you are scared, I am scared. If you're saying that in your head, or if you can actually say that and you believe it, you have no grounding. You have nothing to hold on to. You have nothing to plant. You have no ground to plant any manifestations in. You have no ground to stand on. It's all muddy, nothing to work. You see what I mean? You're fumbling and you're just looking for a place to be still and at peace. So this has to do with something emotional. But let me explain it in a different way. This is the pot right here. So if you're cooking, you need something of substance, and this is why earth needs to be here, and really nothing else, right? But in this scenario, understand that earth and water support each other, and in that respect, this is a supporting emotional effect. It's almost like if the land was dry, now you're going through something that's very emotional, but it also nourishes the land, and now you have a place to manifest. So sometimes you need to go through that thing in order to get the place, or to set the place, to set the scene, to have what you need, the energy to do, the energy to actually will it into existence. So let's see, the 2 of Cups. Okay, so this is unity, partnership, and connection. And I got confused because it sounded just like the Lovers, but it's not. So I was like, okay, let me just look that up real quick. So everything that you use has its source, and unless that source is maintained, it will run dry. So unity in this respect is talking about what was needed and what ran dry, and the fact that you now know what it takes to rejuvenate the connection, the land, and things like that. You now know what it takes. And that's also a lesson learned. Not that you can actually go backwards. So that's the thing right there. Going backwards is basically accepting going back into the same cycle. Unless what's for you, it's for you. So even if you move forward, it won't, you know what I mean? So you have to kind of trust that if that's what you want, you still have to move forward. Oh, here it is. All right, faith and belief, right? Well, faith and fear. There's something called the observer effect in quantum physics, right? As soon as something is observed, it makes it, I want to just say, unique and one. it solidifies. Let's just say you have 1,000 answers, and once you observe it, you have one answer, right? So that's when your consciousness is being of use, right? So you have so many decisions, so many options, but then you choose one. And these options are in the dark. It's not like you know exactly what's going to happen. It's almost up to the wind. Like, what are you really going to do? Because it's not something that you really truly know. It's not something that you've been through before. It's a part of that new journey, that adventure that we started off with, right? And the crazy thing is, if you knew everything about the game, we're bringing it back to the game. If you knew, or let's just say, if you played the game full through before, if you knew what was going to happen next, it's the second time through. It doesn't have that same feeling. So imagine if you really knew what you needed to do, like with no hesitation, just move here, move here, move here. It's not, you didn't do it. So actually knowing the answer is not something anybody wants. We want to get through it. We want to know. We want the power. We want the tools. And I don't think everybody's ready to hear that. Sometimes when you put all the knowledge together, and like I said, we come here for a reason, and multiple people believe that, and we've come here multiple times. Why? These are things that I've asked myself, and there's something here that's fun. There's something here to learn, and it's timeless. Why not come back? Some people, it seems, attract here, but we're at an age of information where we're getting the tools to actually get past the cycle, get through the cycle, this big cycle that everybody's in as a collective consciousness. See, as soon as I said that, I ain't make it up. I ain't coughed the whole time. So the next part of the reading is or, and this has to do with the energies that are off suit. So we have 6 energies that are off suit. I'm not going to go over the ones that we did before, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to place cards down on it. And, it's a certain amount of cards I draw. 6 is the limit, but sometimes I don't do it, right? But when I put the correct energy down, I move on. So we still start off from 0 to 10 because we have to bring that energy from the crown down to the root. This is where we hash out things, right? This is where we put 2 and 2 together. So give me a little bit of time to get that done, and it's gonna happen right about now. So there's a heavy concentration in your solar plexus, your sacral chakra, and your root chakra. Everything else isn't too hard to handle, but let's start out with what first started. So we started off with the 5 of Swords. Your knowledge is good, what you know. And see, I said it different the first time. You knew that there's snakes around, right? You know that there's foxes around, right? Trying to steal what you have. But that's a good thing now that you know, because you can see it and you can block it, or at least you can have an observance of it to find out how to get around it, right? Or through it. It's the same difference. But yeah, that went to your being. So now here's where the story starts. It started off with the Ace of Pentacles, where we understood that you have a blessing, but you're using something else, thinking that you're using the manifestation instead of yourself. It's almost like what you create, you think is better than you. You are the source for your manifestations, like beauty. Like, you are the water that you water the tree with. Like, you're a tree. You are that person that waters the tree. So you are very important. So don't think that you don't have, I can move on. But it went from there, or somebody's doing that to you. Somebody's thinking, or not forcing you to think, but tricking you to think that it's what you create that's the blessing, because once you create it, it can be used, right? Once it's there for the pickings. So now you're going to get the snakes and everything to take from you. But if you use it for yourself, and it's almost like armor, they can't take your armor. That's going to be obvious. Oh, you're after me. You're after my abundance. This is going to be obvious things that are going to happen now. So, and went from there to the Seven of Pentacles. Now that's still earth energy, but it says hard work, perseverance, and diligence. Now, as I said before, if you're working hard for your manifestations and wondering why it's not benefiting you, it's because other people are actually benefiting from it. So this is why sadness is coming here. So this is the story that's building up. You can actually attach what you know is the culprits yourself. If it resonates, put a like in the video, or like the video. I said that wrong, but yeah, I'm learning. Next up, and it ended off with the Knight of Cups. Now the Knight of Cups started over here before, and this is about your path, and I was in the wrong place. So a shift of perspective is what happened. So you learned about who you are, and it was kind of an emotional experience. But which one would you rather face, an ocean or a cup of water? It's simple. It's something that you can hold, you can carry, you can use whenever you need it. You got a lot of farming. I said farming like that. But you got a lot of land to keep up with. You got a lot of people to take care of, if that's your life. Or if it's just you require a certain amount of tailoring to, right? It all depends on who you are. But now you are a person who's not afraid to be a fool and go do it. Right? You have that energy now. You're willing to fight for it, regardless of how it looks. And that's one thing. Not being afraid of how you're looked at is very important when it comes up to your fears. A lot of emotion isn't accepted in the community, mainly the community that you're in, for some reason. But it is who you are. So if you weren't meant to be there, and you show yourself, and you have to remove yourself, it's only right. And you won't be able to really do anything about it, because as you raise your vibration, think of it as a magnet, and it's polarized to what's good. Well, it's magnetized to what's good, but opposite polarized to what isn't good for you. So eventually those things pry off of your skin, and they can't leach from you anymore. The parasites are gone. So yeah, that has to do with your being. Moving from there, we can understand that who you are, you have a good idea of what the problem was when it comes up to who you are in general and why it wasn't working. So moving on from there, it started with the Knight of Cups, but it moved to the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Cups. Let's see. So inner happiness, fulfillment, dreams, and coming true. The reason why the dreams aren't good to have on this side, not only are you exposing what you want the most to everybody, you are in an imaginative state where you need to be more practical. So these emotions do carry, but the thing is, you'll have burnout, because that's everything. You're giving everything to something, and eventually you will have nothing for yourself. So be careful about that. And that moved on to the Hierophant, which what's it called? The Hierophant is on suit, so it cleared that energy, this blockage of your path. This Hierophant energy is what's needed. The Hierophant is the energy from, Hokmah to Chesed, right? So that's direct alignment. That's direct divine alignment. Why do I say that? The way that this board is lined up, the way that I got a checking and savings, right? The way that this board is lined up, Hokmah is actually in this circle right here, in the yin yang itself. But you have the white, the white and the black side. Hokmah is the white side, Binah is the black side. So right here is where the Hierophant connects to it. So the fact that it's so direct means that you're on point. Don't even change up. Why? Because that's what the enemy wants you to do. and this is why it's so hard to do it. But once you get past that first bulk of experience, it becomes a shell, and that's the new shell. You know, hermit crabs, the hermit card. You go on that journey unshelled to the next location where you find that bigger shell so you can grow. That's what this hermit energy is talking about right now. But it requires you to act on it. But when it comes up to acting, there's a problem. We're going to get to that. But moving down the line on the tree, next up that was blocked was the strength card, which is your desires. Desires, which is the strength card. And it started off with the strength. I already mentioned what it does before, but let's see. Okay, in the strength, basically that was your ego at play. And the ego was getting out of control, out of hand, and it forced you to force the situation. Yeah. So it went from there to the Queen of Wands, right? Now the Queen of Wands is a fire card. It is still off suit, so I had to keep drawing, and I'm gonna just... Let's get the Queen of Wands really quickly. So, courage, determination, and joy. The courage is acquired on this side of the board. Why? Because think of movement. If you wanted to fight, you would have to move. If somebody's in your face and you about to fight, there's chances are if you don't move, you're going to get knocked out. So, the movement has to be on the side of the conscious side, because you can't rely on spirit all the time to do your dirty work. You know what I mean? You are here you are brought here for some kind of, I don't want to say fight, right? But you know how they talk about that war, right? The war between heaven and hell. Which side are you on? You're on the side of that fight. But it's cool, because even though this is fire right here, what is it doing for the situation? You are actually sitting down and let's see. Okay, now I get it. I had it wrong. So the reason why this is off is because this is a celebration in the wrong way. Now imagine you achieve something like a milestone, what you feel like in your life, and it was the wrong way, and that's why it was so hard to do. But God can't show you, God can't stop you. So you know what? The next best thing is to teach you from here on. Alright? Then it went on to the Chariot card. Chariot is a water card, and it ended off on suit with this card. The Chariot energy is the energy from Bina to your desires. So the Hierophant and the Chariot card came up to play, and they both connected to both sides of the yin yang. So balance brings love. And if you're looking for that love in your life, you must achieve the balance, because it opens that portal. Balance opens that portal. It's like your axis is in the middle, therefore the best energy can be used. Or I can keep going into it, but I think you understand what I mean. So the Chariot energy is all about going to get it. So let's see what it says. So this is the third card that had willpower in it. It says direction, control, and willpower. So direction has to do with being exactly right with your intuition. So if your spirit is asking you to do something, you're getting it 100% right, and you don't even know it. Now imagine how happy when the controller finally fixes, and your friend who thought they was beating you, now you got you in the head of the game. Now you can block those attacks. Now you can do the things. Now you can win the game. Now you can actually play and get the fun out of the game instead of it being hacked. You know what I mean? So that's how it ended off with when it comes up to your desire. You're deciding to emotionally go after what you want, even though it sounds crazy. The emotion is the energy towards, right? You have the data, which is the knowledge that it came with, right? You know, the trials and the tribulations that it came with was the knowledge, but it had a certain amount of energy that says, I regret those things, so therefore I would do things to never go through those things again. It's a very powerful energy, but you know, sometimes if you have an absolute no, it's trustworthy with God, because God can put something in your hands that should not ever be in that location, and you will never go because you have a regret. How powerful is that? God works with our faults as much as our blessings. So, yeah. So the next blocked location was the solar plexus. Now this is where the story got interesting, because these are responsibilities either that you ran into, you mistakenly did some things, and now you have to deal with it for a certain amount of time. It comes in many forms, and that's up for you to understand where, right? For you to see and pinpoint where. So start off with the Two of Pentacles, and that was your manifestations, basically, instead of you using so much energy, using what you have around you. Now, eventually what you have around you runs out, and that's the problem. So you have to create more as you keep throwing it out, but that's not the thing to do. As I said before in the beginning of the reading, you use these little pieces of earth, right, to build your tower. And these are formations that you do in your life. Okay, I'm going to do this certain thing and I'm going to do it well. That's something that's sturdy. So that's a brick in your tower. This tower moment is you're gonna understand it, right? So yeah. And went from there to the Knight of Swords. Let me get it real quick. Action, impulsiveness, defending beliefs. Now, this is defending what you think that you need to do against your own intuition. So understand that this is something that was happening, because I said before that you're getting it right now. You're perfect, 100%. Don't even think about it. Trust is belief. Honestly, you can't do no wrong when Spirit got your back. Why? Because it's going to be that, okay, God is awesome, right? So why wouldn't God set up the scene for any decision that you made to be the winning decision when you're doing it out of good intentions? So even if this way would have looked a certain way, been a certain way, gave you a certain amount of benefits, this way gave you benefits too, but it's something that stuck with you your whole life. Imagine that. Something that could never be shooken off of you, something that will always be there for you, unattainable, nobody can take it from you, you can only give it, right? That's power. So it went from there to the Five of Swords, right? And this is unbridled ambition, winning at all costs, and sneakiness. We already talked about this energy. Now, why are you being sneaky? Are you trying to go past your intuition? Are you trying to outsmart what your soul, your spirit knows already? How can you think, being the person that you are currently, that you know everything that's about to happen? You're not allowed to. This up to time, whoever controls time, you know what I mean? That in itself is letting me know that the ego is in play too. The ego is a good servant and a horrible master. So if you're allowing what you believe to control everything, what you believe isn't actually what you need to know. You know what I mean? Because opposite belief is what you know. You believe certain things, so you go through experiences, and then you really understand what you needed to know. Then you can move in perfection. You know what I mean? Not perfection, but in protection. So next up was the Ten of Pentacles. And it's still off suit because this is Earth. So let's get it. Beautiful card. Abundance. You will have everything that you need, but you're giving it away. Imagine being this plentiful, but it's nothing for you to use. You can do so much for everybody else, or they have tricked you to doing so much for them. You didn't even understand your power. You have so much abundance, but none of it was for you. Crazy. And this is giving everything away. I barely need to look at this. Legacy, inheritance, and culmination. I love the word legacy because this is the mark that you leave. So you're giving your best to people and they're making marks. You're like, imagine you just, all your shoes just got robbed and all of your friends just like had them and they never told you they took them, but they wore them around you. It's just like, you living in my experience right now. I was supposed to be getting looked at for wearing those shoes. Those are my Jordans. what are you doing with my shoes? I was looking for them the whole time, but you gave it to them, and you noticed, so you can't say nothing, right? So understand how that plays out. If you don't give it, it's for you, or at least you can have it to know what to do with it. And it went from there to the 9 of Pentacles. Fruits of labor, recklessness, spending, and rewards. So this is frivolous, right? As I said before, better example. You're having a snowball fight. You have a certain amount of snow behind you, and you understand that you want to win the game. If you throw everything like a maniac, you will have nothing else to use. And this is what this is talking about. But the thing is, when you believe, then it will be, because that's just who you are. You are a spiritual being. You are a soul here for an experience, and something just like that can happen and put you right back on track. And it didn't end off. This is actually off suit. So it's one of the areas that was off suit. 6 cards are here, so I just left it like that. It ended off with the 2 of Swords. So difficult choices, indecision, and stalemate. That's perfect. Why? Because this person is blindfolded, but it also has its defenses up, at least in the form of an attack. So even you know that your ego can overpower anything that is trying to make you do something. You know this, that you have the power, but you're allowing spirit to take control because the eyes are shut, and the third eye is the only one that can actually see everything regardless, right? So that's your spiritual eye. Your eye is in control. So you're relying on what you know and what your intuition is telling you, and that's it. It's either going to be one way that spirit tells me or the other way that spirit tells me. No other things, no other decisions, and I'm protected because of it. You're walking with that kind of strength now, even though it's going to take some time to figure out what it is, because you have to keep the monsters away, right? You have to keep the parasites out of you. You gotta push them out and keep them out. So that was a big issue, and I guess you got a better understanding of it. We're gonna move on to your side, which is the area of I feel, right? It started off with the 10 of Wands. This is you doing everything. This is the burden, and it's also forceful. All your eggs. I said cookies. All your eggs in one basket, right? I don't know why I just said that, because where else is he gonna put these sticks? Gotta put them all down at some time. So this was accomplishment of responsibility and burden, right? And from there, that's what you're contracted to do. I mean, it's an emotional thing. It's like you have to bear the brunt of everything. And it seems unfair, but everything is a challenge and everything is a lesson. So what are the lessons? What are the things that you can take from this? The things that you say, I will never do this again because I remember what I'm going through right now. These regrets are actually powers, because God can trust you because you won't even step in that direction anymore. Something is protected because of what you went through. You see? I hope, there are reasons why you're going through this. It's not just unfair. You have a purpose, a mission. So compared to what you're going through, imagine you're able to stop everything that you went through with another person. So you're able to say something to somebody that eliminates them from going through everything that you went through. Imagine how much time they can reclaim. Imagine how much space they can, conquer. They're going to be free. And that's the beauty of all of us going through our experiences. And when we share them, hopefully with people that you trust, they can piggyback, and y'all can piggyback off of each other and find more answers. So your experiences you can double up on them, right? So there's that. So the King of Swords came up. Let me look at it. So head of a heart, most likely the decisions, discipline, and truth. Air and water are basically opposites, right? So think of it as a parallel. If there's water here, there can be no air here. If there's air here, there can be no water here. They cancel each other out completely. So when you're emotional, you don't have the space because you don't have the energy, right? If you're stressed out, that's energy constantly being released instead of energy that you can go conquer. You know what I mean? So you're realizing where these energies are coming out and you're saying, okay, I'm done with this. So moving on, you see the Wheel of Fortune here. Wheel of Fortune is a fire card, but it's also a fortunate card. Fortunate things that are coming out of your imagination that are rocking the boat. You are ready to burn some of this emotion away, and it's going to happen one way or the other. So that force is coming to play. It can be good, but you have to understand the balance of things, because if you do too much, you're gonna, in a sense, dry out the ocean. You need the ocean, right? But you're gonna dry it out. So the Wheel of Fortune is change, cycles, and inevitable fate. You came here for a reason, and I believe that before you leave, you will have to discover that reason, or you will figure out that reason. You get what you came for, regardless, and that's beautiful. So moving on from there, it went to the Two of Wands. So planning, making decisions, and leaving home. So even though it's less active than this fire energy, meaning that it's more controllable, you're able to chip away at some of these emotional blockages if you should just decide where to go. Now, let me see. I know why I said that. Leaving home. The home, okay. If you can remember what I said before about the castle and the kingdom, the king goes out to conquer the kingdom and comes back to a sort of like home base. You know how when you play tag, when you off the tree, right? That's base. When you off the tree, you running out, you running, you can get caught, you can get hit. But when you're home, it should be safe. So in a relationship setting, you can understand how this operates. But individually, this is what you set up for yourself. This is what you plan for yourself. These are the results of your plans and what's keeping you afloat. That's what that relates to. Moving on, we have what came out next was the Six of Wands. And that's victory, success, and public reward. Now, why is this important to have in this location? Public reward is an announcement of your accomplishments. And that is telling me specifically that the people who were stealing from you can't steal from you no more, because you are being validated. You are now being validated, and that's beautiful. But what ended this energy off, even though there's water here, so that's a good sign. This is the Star. Star is an air card. And let's see what it says. So hope, faith, and rejuvenation. Going through this whole process, this emotional process, and claiming your power back, puts you in a state of rejuvenation. Now, rejuvenation takes time, and that's what this is about. So these were two heavy energies, but they're on their own axis at the same time. So there's a balance in that itself. Next up, and the last up in this run, is Malkut, which started off with the Two of Cups, and then it went to the Five of Wands. So let me see what that means. Yeah, naturally is a fight going on, but it says competition, conflict, and rivalry. Rivalry is a good thing. Why? Because you will always have something to look at to see if you're doing the right thing. But people take that the wrong way, because they think that they need to be better than their rivals just to be better. No, your rival needs to always be good as you, so you have something, steel sharpens steel, right? I think that's the saying. But if it's not, steel sharpens steel. So that's what a rival does. Sometimes your best friends can be rivals in ambition, and it will spark you to do something, right? You can have family that do things, and because you grew up with them, it tells you that it's possible for you too, and that can spark you. And that can be a rival, but a good one. A bad rival, you can understand where bad rivals come through, right? They just here to block you everywhere, stop you wherever you go, don't get the point. Yeah, just misled. But after that, what came up is the 4 of Wands. So we went from 5 to 4. And this is also offsuit. This needs to be Earth, right? So community, home, and celebration. Now home is over here in the emotional place. If you remember the analogy that I said before, that this is the pot where you cook. This is where you cook and get all the stuff that you need, right? So if you are burning everything and nothing can be used, what are you actually going to eat? You know, you're burning your own bridges. You're burning the things, but the thing is, these are bridges that your parasites built. These are bridges that your parasites built. So the fact that they're coming down is a good thing. You're releasing the burden, or at least the strain that you didn't even know you had. It went from there to the Hangman. Now the Hangman is the energy from your desire to your solar plexus, right? So allowing spirit to take control and doing the things that come to you. And not perfecting it, but gaining good habits around it is what that's talking about right now. So that's what this Hangman came into play. Doing these things cause that fire energy to subside, right? Now you're not burning things, you're drowning them. Or at least it's manageable, you know what I mean? You can wait a certain amount of time, you can let it air out, meaning you can think about it. You can think about a few things until a point where you can actually cook again. You know what I mean? You know, this analogy runs deep, but if it resonates, it resonates. Then it went to the 5 of Cups. Now that's more water. Loss, grief, and disappointment. Now, losing is not always bad, because you can lose a bad contract. You know how Kanye said, I'm the only one who got out of Adidas. Well, he said something about tricking Adidas to get out of a bad deal. That's what it was. So, loss is not always bad. Sometimes this is taking water out the pot so you can do it. I know everybody done it. If you put too much water in a rice pot, you got to take some water out. Don't matter if some of the nutrients came out, it will not cook right if you don't do that. Like, you know how this works. So moving on from there, it didn't end off correctly, but this is the 9 of Cups. Let's see. Satisfaction, emotional stability, and luxury. Now, emotional stability. This is your home. This is your home of light. So your emotional, energetic home, I should say, because that's more accurate. The home of the energy that you collect. So all of the chakras that you have, imagine you got energies coming through them, and they need to be in a place before you can use it. So this is bringing that energy. So that energy is giving satisfaction and emotional stability, as well as luxury. This is being spiritually wealthy. Anything that you ask for, you get. Should you have good intentions, almost immediately. Why? Because you're rich. You've done the things. You paid the price already. Multiple upon multiple times. All you needed to do was load your bank account. Swipe the card. Black card, don't decline it. You know what I mean? Alright, so that was the end of that part. That was Or. So I hope you have a better understanding of the story between your perspective and the place, right? Everything that happened in between. So moving on from there, we go to the star stream. What is the star stream about? I'm going to run down the line of what we talked about to get to what the star stream is about. So we started off with I know. Oh, sorry. We started off with who, what, when, where, and why in the spirit, mind, body, and soul, right? And then once we got to why, we understand I know, I be, I want, I need, I will, I desire, I love, I act or I do, I feel, and I am. So now that you have this information, what can you do with it? This is the star stream, so it gets mechanical with it. You can use, these are things that you can use if you can understand it. Things that are actually practical. So how do I get that information out? There's a place called experimentation expression, integration, and transcendence. So the question that you asked at this part is, if I experiment, if I express, if I integrate, and if I transcend, therefore I will ascend, right? Because it started here, the reading started here, and it ended here. It's going to end here. So we go full circle. So I hope you understood that. We're going to move forward with it. I'm going to get the oracle cards back out, and I'm going to deal these just like this. It's cool. Get that card back out. For experimentation, we have boundaries. Experiment with your boundaries. What does that look like to you? If you had that person, place, a thing respecting what you needed it to do, how would your life change? Now, there are certain things that you can do to make sure that these things don't happen. It don't have to be a regret. You don't have to go through things. You can put things up. You can put walls up so it doesn't attack you, right? This is your kingdom. And when you put up those walls, it protects your time. I don't know why. I just grabbed it. So I'ma just, okay. Karmic path, right? This is in your place of expression. Now, expressing your karma. Oh, okay, I just spoke about that. Sharing your experiences is one big thing that's very powerful, because when you share, other people can share too. And you're taking, okay, this is their data, and it involved a certain amount of time. So this is why knowledge is powerful. This is why knowledge is power. You're getting their knowledge, and it takes all the time that they've been through and puts it in a piece of knowledge. So you're actually gaining time by learning more about the situations. You're gaining time and learning more about how you can move and maneuver. Knowledge is power. You gain time by learning more. It's going like this. All makes sense. And when I get that app, it's gonna make real sense. So like, share, comment. You know, if this is helping you out, I like to hear how. And honest opinions about where this reading took you, and so love from there. So appreciate you. Moving on. Nope, I'm gonna do this way. Nope, I ain't gonna do it that time. Okay, so integration. Jealous integration. Now, okay. Why is jealousy a good thing over here when it comes up to integrating it, right? You go to a gym and you see somebody that has a better body than you. That can either be a jealous thing or motivation. So that's what that's talking about. The motivation of it. Look for things that motivate you to keep these patterns and new habits. Look for the motivations. It's not all about what you're doing. It's what motivates you to do it. And that's the thing that can become addictive too. They're good addictions. You can be addicted to keeping yourself healthy. Great addiction. Moving on, we have growth and transcendence. Now, naturally, transcendence is about the space that you occupy and how good you be able to use it. The more you know, the more you can link your body and your mind, your soul, your spirit to, right? That has to do with growth. Let's get some of these cards, but before I get there, we're gonna put the last card down, and then some last oracle card, and I'm gonna put it face down, just like how it came, so we can understand it. So, starting off with boundaries and experimentation. So let's get the information on the cards real quick. Oracle, what are they actually saying? I have my interpretation, but look. Stand your ground. Be your own guardian and take up space. This is not the time to play small. Honor your space and create healthy boundaries in your situation. Meditate on this symbol when you want to set a healthy boundary and stick to it. The Jaguar can also help you keep your integrity and standards high. Okay. Why is the Jaguar important? The Jaguar is in a forest. In the forest, when you think about it, is trees. And when you tie that to air, you can understand that's controlling the domain of the air. So that's what that's coming out right now. That's the spirit of the Jaguar. So, it was the Jaguar. Okay. We understand the boundaries, but moving on to karmic path and expression. So, karmic lesson, learning experience, hard work, perseverance, and structure. A new and a valuable lesson is available to you at this time. This moment requires your due diligence. Pay attention to what is being presented to you. Have you been down this road before? Or has somebody else been down this road and you don't have to, right? Have you been down this road before? Our souls has come to this earth school to learn valuable lessons as beings for the planet. What are you being taught right now? This moment may require hard work, but it may have long-lasting rewards. You are not being punished, but are gaining tools and experiences for living that will be with you for the rest of your life. This is kind of saying what I've been saying, so this is confirmation. It's a lot of confirmation. So karma is good and bad at the same time. So even though it could be bad when you're going through it, even though that it sucks that it was you that could have been wrong, right? Even though that's all happening, it's still a gift in itself because you got out the cycle. The cycle ended. You're not being wrong anymore. You're not doing that thing. You can't. Therefore, you almost have no choice to grow because you a soul. You're not going to go back to the same crap. Not after being through all of that. You're going to move differently. Never to be in that position again. So that's the expression with it. Expressing what you've been through. So next up is jealousy, and this is in the place of integration. What can you do? What can you input into your patterns in your life? How can you move a little bit different to make it work? And this is jealousy. Envy, jealousy, and bad vibes. This card comes as a warning that all is not as it seems, or maybe it is. There may be some jealousy being presented or projected to you at this time. Fear not. This warning is here to provide you with enough distance to take the necessary action to protect your heart, mind, and energy. Or perhaps good old compare and despair monster got you wishing or longing for what another is or another has or is doing. So, like I said before, there's motivation behind jealousy because even though you see it, you know that you want it, and that's a trigger for what you want. So are you going to try to steal it, put them down for having it, or go get it yourself? That's literally just a flag. Like, not a flag, a finish line. You just saw a finish line. You just saw the finish line. Now that person has a certain amount of, the karmic path came up, right? Karmic path came up, but I told you it was information about what you've been through. So that person, that trainer, in this sense, right, is going to tell you everything you need to know to do it faster than he did it or she did it. This is how you manage your time. So sometimes there are masters who've been through it all that can say one thing to you that bring you 10 years ahead of your life. It's that powerful. So listen. This is why you have 2 ears to get that information. Sometimes you can hear things on a train in a random conversation that wasn't even about you and somebody else is having it. And you be like, oh, I heard something on the train. I'm going to move different because I heard it. I'll never forget that. That was good. Jealousy. Alright? So, next up is growth. And this is on top of transcendence. How do you put it all together and make it work? How does it finish off? What is the space required to make it work? Where do you need to be? What facilities do you need to have? A time of evolution and growth is here. You may be leaving behind outdated and antiquated relationships, mentors, beliefs, systems, situations, or environments. If you are inquiring about a situation or relationship, this card calls for a deeper commitment or a decision to let go in order to honor your journey. That's a long sentence. Drawing another card for clarity about which direction to take. regarding your situation. This card represents knowing that all will be well and for the highest good. So maybe it's in my growth to just be patient and get it done with. So maybe that little bit of an experience I just had is enough for you. If it resonates, it resonates. Alright, so last but not least in the whole reading is shift. And this is in the place of therefore I will ascend. Because there's a shift taking place. Because of everything that you know and the new perspective that you have, hopefully, you know, there will be a shift. Because you see what was happening. You already knew that you had the snakes. You didn't know what to do about it. You had to shift perspectives or shift lanes so they can't even drive with you. This is the fast lane. They can't move with you in your own lane. Your lane is for you and you alone. But sometimes our lanes intersect. And when that happened, they chose to go with you in a caravan and you're pulling them along because they can't keep up. The example was there. I know you get it. Right? So shift. Miracles, divine intervention, the end of stagnation, and divine inspiration are here now. I remember I talked about that inspiration, that muse, right? Drawing this card signifies an aha moment or a sudden change in any situation that was stuck or blocked. A welcome change or answer you have been seeking is here now. Meditate on this symbol when you are feeling stuck, unsure of which way to go, or having a block of creativity. Yeah, so that's that muse energy coming. So you are your own muse, especially when you understand what you need to do. And it can be addictive and you can benefit. So it's like finding that win-win situation. So that's what this mainly is about. There was something that you were exposed to that allows you to transcend the situation and end the cycle. And that's good news. And that's good to end off on good news because, you know, you don't want to end off with something that leaves you thinking so hard. I would like, you know, at least a little bit of peace in your mind. If this reading helped you, I would like you to give it a thumbs up. You know, as I said before, I'm doing all of this because I'm creating an app for the community. It's going to be the biggest app in the spiritual community in for the next 100 years. It won't even matter. For the next 100 years, you will not be able to talk about anything but this app. You won't be able to, because everything that we talk about, everything that we go through, I found a way to put it all together. And from me to you, this is KyFy. This is the Zin-Finity Board. So with all that said and done, I hope you got what you needed. I hope you see differently. Therefore, you will move differently. I'm KyFy. Peace.